Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and yes, we educate you. But today, I'll tell you what, we got a splash of pizzazz here. I've had the pleasure of just sharing the stage with this young, powerful man, and I'll tell you what, he really just, his heart is of gold, and sometimes people just don't understand the value that's in them. And this man brings a lot of value. So he's going to bring that value out of you. Because one thing that I tell you that I loved about him is his heart connected with mine. And he just raised my value. Luke, Lintz, welcome to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, my brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, Daniel. Thanks for having me on here. Looking forward to this conversation. Looking forward to giving the audience a ton of value today.
Well, man, we're honored to have you. And before we get just rocking and rolling, ladies and gentlemen, you know what I say. Get out your pen, get out your paper, because Luke's going to drop some massive wisdom. I had the pleasure of sharing the stage with this mighty speaker, mighty businessman, and don't let his youth fool you. He has a lot of wisdom in there. So you know what I say, when you write down notes, you retain over 50% of it in your subconscious mind. So write down those notes, go back, study your notes, and even listen to this episode twice, maybe even 3 times, because I know Luke's going to drop some massive wisdom for us. Luke, man, I know the amazing young man you are. Do me a favor, sir. Please introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show.
Yeah, for sure. I'll kind of start with where I'm at now, and then I'll kind of do a little bit of reverse, because I know people want to hear why somebody is on a certain podcast. Why does somebody have the authority to be on the Daniel Gomez Show? So where I'm at currently is I'm 24 years old. I moved from Canada to Puerto Rico with my brothers. I currently run an 8-figure PR firm. I've partnered up with some of the biggest celebrities in the world, like Kevin Hart, Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, hundreds of others within partnerships with our business. And it was not an easy path to get here. And so I started in business 8 years ago when I was 16 in high school. Started with selling wireless earbuds. We were the first ever wireless earbuds to be sold across North America, and scaled up the business to 7 figures. It didn't work out for a multitude of reasons that we might get into today, but basically made some extremely greedy mistakes, made some critical business mistakes because it was our first business. Got very humbled very quickly and had to transition business models. And so we transitioned into an agency, which we developed into the PR firm that it is today.
And you have a heart of gold. You have a heart of gold. So, ladies and gentlemen, get out your pen and paper, because we're going to go deep. And really what resonated with Luke, and you know, he's a successful businessman. He has a great following on Instagram, IG. And many people don't believe that you can build a business on Instagram. But when you do just marketing, high key is just amazing. And I would, you know, I remember this was probably about a year and a half ago, but we see these promotions that you all do, Luke. And I think people would say, man, is this real? Are they just doing it just to, because you're giving away, right? I mean, you're blessing people. You're literally blessing people with not $5 or $10, but these are huge giveaways. And people may think that they're not real, but just in the conversation we're having, like, no, like, Daniel, this is what we do. Like, this is who we are. What did you realize when you started giving away these certain products or gifts to your audience? What kind of happened to your business as a result of that?
Dude, this is a great question. And honestly, I've never dived fully into this specific angle on any podcast ever. And I'll take it a few different ways. When we first started the giveaways, to give people a background, is we partnered up with celebrities, did massive giveaways on their Instagram profiles, like gave away Teslas, cash, very large prizes. And the only way that people had to enter was following a list of giveaway sponsors. So giveaway sponsors would pay us to be on the following list to be able to gain followers. And so that's what paid for the giveaway. That's why these were legitimate. And then like you said, the feeling of being able to give away such massive life-changing prizes. Like I remember FaceTiming some of the giveaway winners, like single moms, and we were giving them $20,000 of cash where they were talking about how they're going to pay off their debts, how they're going to allow their kids to go to university. Like that was that was so impactful, where how we were able to craft a business model where we were able to make money, but also in the process of giving back to people who extremely needed it, was really a beautiful thing. And what it taught me was we took this aspect of things of giveaways, not just into our major business model of giveaways, but into every aspect of our business, which is you can never lose if you are constantly giving, and you'll get back into return usually the amount that you're giving in the long run. And so it was more than just giving away prizes for us. It was in our content, giving away as much value as possible in for our clients that are paying us, giving them as much value as possible within their packages so that they refer over business. Like we constantly just took this element into every aspect of our business of giving as much as we possibly could.
So you personally, right? And I know you run that big PR firm, IKEA, but for you personally, Luke, like what did when you started giving away 10,000, 20,000? I know you've given away some Louis Vuitton purses. And ladies and gentlemen, please don't misperceive what we talk about, right? Don't listen to this with the wrong perspective. It's not about the material things. It's the fact that they're blessing people legitimately. And what I want to know, because what I've learned in life is somebody can take a $5 lunch or a beat up old purse or car, but it's really, I see it as God has blessed us in our business, Luke, that it's hard for people sometimes to even receive a $100 bill. So I can't imagine giving away 20,000. I think one day we will do that. But when you give somebody a nicer, more valuable gift, people have a problem receiving. First of all, the part is, what did it do for you as you started really just look the person when you were giving? And then B, what did you notice when you were giving these higher? Like, was there people that like couldn't believe it, or no, I can't take this? So kind of go a little bit deeper on that if you don't mind.
There's actually a lot of scenarios that I can pull in on this. I'll talk about the ugly first because I feel like this would be something interesting that people would want to hear, and something that like touched me deeply is there's this one winner of a Tesla that was 2 years ago, and it was of a used Tesla from a celebrity that we gave away. Now, a used Tesla still costs over $25,000. And so we paid, I think it was 27.5 grand for this Tesla. And this person won it just by following a list of 90 accounts. Nothing paid to enter, completely free. And we told her that she won. And it wasn't even in the terms and conditions that we had to pay for the sales tax or that we had to pay for the shipping. But I knew she couldn't afford it. So I paid for the sales tax, paid for the shipping over and above the cost. It got shipped to her. And she complained about the Tesla. And after she complained about the Tesla, she was writing me all of these complaints afterwards. And she threatened that she was going to sue me and sue our company after receiving a 27.5 that. And I was really in total disbelief. And those types of things where it's completely out of my control bring me stress in life for sure. And it was a very frustrating time where I'm like, we're giving away this massive prize where there's other companies out there that don't do these things legitimately. They don't actually give away prizes and they have no repercussions. And I'm out here where we just spent $27,500 plus went over and above. And now she's threatening to sue. And it was very difficult. What I ended up doing is I bought her a brand new Tesla, shipped the Tesla back, and then gave away that other Tesla in another giveaway. And so we were out a lot of money. And that was I don't really know what the learning lesson was from that. It was just super frustrating.
So, ladies and gentlemen, listen to what Luke just said. Has somebody given you something of value, and instead of celebrating it, you're complaining? When you just said that, what it reminds me of is right. So we do book publishing, and it surprises me how many authors self-sabotage themselves, because it's the moment they get the book in their hand, and I would say there's I don't want to give a false percentage, but it's bigger than what you would think, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of celebrating, oh, I got my book's completed. The first thing they do, Luke, is complain about it. It could have
Wow.
been better. And because they're not receiving the blessing of becoming an author. So when you said that about this lady receiving a 27, it's a Tesla, right? It's a higher quality vehicle, just the branding at how they approach it. And she probably didn't feel that she deserved it. And it's not funny, but so many people out there, one thing that I'm realizing is I'm do a lot of business coaching and executive coaching. And a lot of these people reach these higher levels of prominence. They get a bigger platform and they don't know how to handle it because they don't know how to receive at those higher levels. And you experience that. It's just and so ladies and gentlemen, I want you to ask yourself this. Have you complained about a blessing that you've been given by a friend, maybe a loved one, maybe your boss, maybe a client of yours try to bless you, and instead of celebrating it, all you did was complain about it? Well, complaining and then you start arguing about it, you're self-sabotaging. You're not receiving at those higher levels. But you need to start taking notice of this, because if you're not receiving at these levels, then that could keep your life and your business to go to the next level, because you can't even receive at the level you're at. How can you receive at a higher level? What do you say to that, Luke?
Dude, I think you just opened my mind up to a way of thinking about that specific situation that resonates very heavily. I think every single person listening to this podcast, myself included, self-sabotage themselves in an area of their life, or have in the past to a certain extent. And you could reflect back on your life. I was just reflecting on my life and thinking about how often I self-sabotage myself, even in my current state. Where if I think back to 8 years ago, just starting the business, if I looked at myself every single day of where I'm at currently, I could only think in my wildest dreams that I would be at this specific time of my life in Puerto Rico, where it's summer all year round, have my own house, have my cars, have good friends on this podcast. Like, I could only imagine having a track record of all of these things, but I still get caught up all the time in day to day problems that are me just self-sabotaging myself. Those thoughts in your head of not being good enough. Since I'm not good enough, I'm not going to be loved by others. Since I'm not performing at my best today, I'm not doing the work that I should supposed to be, and people aren't going to accept me. All of these thoughts in your head that ruin just the present time and being grateful and having all of these amazing emotions that you should be feeling at any time of your life, no matter what the situation is.
I I resonate with that, because my first big gig as a speaker, I went to California. I spoke on stage with Tom Bilyeu, and I was on stage with Tom Bilyeu, and backstage we did like a little video with him. Just right, I was this was in 2018 or 2019. Like, I was a newbie. It was 6 years ago. I was excited, and I was on cloud nine, and no one ever talked to me about imposter syndrome. I come back, right? I mean, I have a phenomenal, like, I'm on cloud nine. I'm there with Tom Bilyeu. I met my good friend Alex Stern from Constant Contact, and came back. This is where you self-sabotage, ladies and gentlemen. I was by myself, and all of a sudden this unsettledness sets in, right? That energy's coming down, and I'm arguing with my wife. And she went to work, and the next day, this carried on for like 2 days. And she's like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "I don't know. Like, what do you like? There's not like nothing was wrong, right? We had a little bit of savings. I mean, nothing was wrong. It was just me inside the imposter syndrome. The old paradigm it was shocked. I get on this call with this one friend of mine, and he's like, "Dude, like, you're suffering from fraudulent complex." I'm like, "What the hell's fraudulent complex?" He's like, "What's imposter syndrome, bro? You never heard of imposter syndrome?" I'm like, "Well, no and yes, because at that point I had never really had a reason to experience it." He goes, "Man, look up fraudulent complex and watch a video on it." And I'm just like, okay. And it's where you don't think you're good enough, where you don't think you belong. And it was such a massive, right? I mean, literally, like me and you hung out. I was hanging out with Tom Billieu, and I just like, this guy's like up here and Daniel's down here, but in reality, it's not like that. But in our minds and our thinking, we tell ourselves that. So we self-sabotage. And I remember I broke wine glasses, and it was my worst,
Wow.
it was my worst breakthrough, right? I needed this breakthrough because that was I reached my I reached my upper limit. There's a book that I tell all young coaches to read. What that's it's called my mind went blank. I'll remember it. But as I read this book, the book talks about an upper limit. It's a New York Times bestseller. And I had reached my upper limit, but you got to break through that lid of unlimited, right, of your belief system. And literally, I no joke, and no joke, ladies and gentlemen, I lost like 3 business days of work because my wife came home one day early, and it was just so strong that the old little fat kid, Daniel Gomez, was dying, and the new version of me was coming to life. And I think many people hit that wall, like this woman that received this Tesla, and there was a part of her that said, I don't deserve this. I'm not worthy of this. I can take an old beat up $1,000 clunker, but a Tesla, like, who am I to have a Tesla? And these are the things. This is a problem with a lot of people, and I want your perspective. Do you see this? Because you deal with these upper level of just of business. They're not even aware this is in them. They're not even aware it's in them. And then when they hit that level of a gift that they receive, or just being in a room with someone of your caliber, or someone of a celebrity that you're with, they're like they freak out. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Dude, this is huge. This honestly goes back into, I talk about this a lot with my brothers as well, about it's so hard for you to self-identify problems in your life. Like, that is such an unbelievably high level skill of being able to self-identify the problems within yourself that you're facing. And so you need a group of people around you that are striving towards greater, or already at a greater level, that can look into yourself and give you points of feedback for the problems that you're facing. Because you're only going to develop that skill over time and with lots of training. It's not an inherent skill that comes and is naturally born with people. It's something that's worked on, of being able to be self-accountable and work towards like your self problems. And so I think that was something that I was very fortunate to have, is I always had a peer group that were higher level than me, older than me, that were able to give me points of feedback where I asked for the feedback, was willing to receive the feedback. And then once I received the feedback, I actioned it. And so most people don't even have the first step of having a group of friends or a group of close comrades that can, group of wise counsel, like in the Bible, that can give you those points of feedback about your relationships, about what you're spending your time on, about your diet, your workout regimen, like all of these things. Where this is just something that's super interesting, is I've talked with, this was a conversation I had a while ago with a real estate agent, and she was like older, like 60 years old. And I was talking with her, and every single time I opened my mouth, she would talk over me. And I was just thinking, I was like, how does this woman go through her entire life with having this communication where she's talking over people? And I can only assume that that's because nobody around her gave her the feedback. Like, all it would take is one time at the beginning of one of her friends being like, hey, listen, like, you're talking over people. That's not the best way that you should be communicating.
Are you an aspiring speaker? Do you have a book that you've been wanting to write for months, maybe even years? Or are you an aspiring podcaster? You want to start that podcast like the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and don't know where to start? Well, at Daniel Gomez Enterprises, we can help you do all three. We can help you become that paid speaker, share your story to the world, write your book, and get your podcast launched and help you produce it. We'd love to help you. Give us a call at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. We can help you become that paid speaker, write that book, and launch your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. now. I think it goes back to your proximity. This is the way I say it. I was like, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself this question: who's in your playground? People say, right, the closest people, the five closest people you become. And if you're associating with people that just feed your ego or just yes, ma'am, yes, sir, then is that really the people you want around you? You want people that are gonna kind of, like you're saying, check you a little bit. And what I realize is this, Luke, is like, who knows what the lady's history is? She probably has some pain there. But I realize this when I do my corporate trainings, is when you go into a corporate environment and you're in the conference room or the boardroom, the first one that always speaks the loudest is always the most insecure because they want to be heard. So, ladies and gentlemen, ask yourself as you're just right now, if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, are you wanting to be heard because of your insecurities? Or are you wanting to be heard because you really want to add value to people? Write that
Mhm.
question down. Do you want to be heard because you just want to be heard because you want to prove that you're good, or you want to prove something to someone? Or are you really speaking up because you really want to add value to the people that are around you? And it amazes me. I said, why do you want to speak up and be the loudest, right? This is what I learned is let everybody speak. That way you kind of hear what dumb things they say, because people do say dumb things even at those higher levels. I mean, it is what it is because they're human beings. But then you take the wisdom of what everybody spoke and you can formulate an answer. Now Luke's giving the answer from not just his wisdom, but hey, I just heard 12 people speak. Now I got the wisdom of 12 people of what I should not say. Because you see the response on the body language of the people.
There was a video of Jeff Bezos actually saying that in all of his meetings, he spoke last in all of his meetings because he did exactly what you said, where he would gather all of the wisdom of people to formulate his decision and formulate what he was going to say at the end.
But so listen to this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to what Luke said. Don't talk over people. Be around people that love you enough that are going to tell you the truth. And what I loved about you, Luke, when we met, that I was able to just really to share time with you on stage and be here with you in Santa, like no matter how much success you have, and being in your 20s and just the grace that God's given you, like, you're humble. And how did you become so humble, man? Because I think there's a lot of young people in their 20s, 30s that are in business and doing okay, but they're kind of arrogant. Talk to us about that. How did you keep yourself from really getting a big head, I guess? Because that's the first thing, when I'm in prayer, that God always brings that up. Stay humble, Daniel. Stay humble, because sometimes the old Daniel wants to come up, and believe me, I repent sometimes 2 or 3 times a week.
Do we all have to? And
Yeah.
none of us are perfect. That's why we're humans. We're just trying to walk in a righteous direction. In terms of being humble, one thing is I think that no, I know that money is an embellishment of who you already are. And so if you come into a lot of money in your life, it doesn't necessarily change the type of person you are. It embellishes who you already are. So if you're naturally somebody who has a lot of wrath, a lot of hate in their life, you will become more of that once you become rich. If you're naturally a very nice person, very charismatic, you like giving back. If you become rich, you will give back more. You will it will just make it more embellished. I think my humbleness came from because we talked about this, where we talked about how in our first business, we grew it up very quickly. I was in high school and I definitely wasn't humble then, where I definitely had an ego. I made 7 figures, like kind of right at the time of graduating high school. I was definitely on top of the world. And what set me back was we made some horrible business decisions that was primarily my decision. And so I realized I wasn't that good. And so it gave me that reality hit, especially when we went to $300,000 in debt from that. But then after that, we started up the giveaways and we started scaling our agency very quickly. And we actually ended up making about $10 million in the matter of 7 months. And I bought a Lamborghini Urus in 2020. And I definitely was not humble back then either, where I bought a Lamborghini specifically for the purpose of showing off to others. That was the sole intent of, I wanted to drive around in my hometown, be the first Lamborghini Urus owner, and everybody to like, look at me, look at me. And I think the main thing that has allowed me to become like more humble now is that I think I'm finally getting to the point of starting to tap into who is like Luke really, like who truly is Luke, because I feel my entire life has been me living in as a chameleon. And I'm not sure if anybody who's listening this can resonate, but this is something that like I've actually just recently reflected on, is that there's been a lot of times I've been unhappy in my life because I've wanted to be somebody that I thought other people would like. Social media embellishes this too and enhances it, where you're constantly looking at other people's lives. You're looking at what other people's dreams and desires are. You're looking at what other people's ambitions are, what other people buy. You're looking at the cars that other people buy, and it gets you into that comparative mindset that we talked about,
Yeah.
that fraudulent complex.
So would you say kind of like it, right? We have Luke, the amazing young man, right? That just Luke, and then we have the persona that's created through social media to say, instead of living as Luke, you're living as the persona that's been built. You know who talked about this was Deion Sanders, Primetime, right? They're like, you don't know who Deion is. You don't know me. You know Primetime. Y'all like Primetime, but do y'all know me? And when you said that, that's kind of what I thought, right? Like like high key, right? High key, but you don't know who Luke is, the human being. And it's amazing you say that, because I think sometimes we get caught up in a persona that it's like, no, it's like I thought about legally changing my name to Daniel Gomez Inspires, because that's my speaking brand, right? It has a pro that I've embodied the identity, but you know what? I'm Daniel Gomez who likes dogs. Like, I have a cute little new puppy called Lexi, and I love her, right? And that's who I am. I mean, that's the guy. And it's amazing me, because I look at myself, and I'll do like live videos here and there on Facebook or whatever. But it's nothing like when I speak on stage, it's like another person comes out of me, like the Holy Spirit just moves to me. So I understand what you're saying with that, like Luke, the mighty man of God.
It's so true, man. Social media makes people into this larger than life persona. And I've seen it so many times of successful business people that put out a super over the top persona on social media, and then their business takes a turn for the worst during a period of time, but they feel like they still need to keep up that image. And so they're keeping up this falsified image to prove to somebody, maybe to prove to the people who are in a business relationship to them, that they're still doing well, even though that they're not. When in reality, if you just showcase like who you actually are, how life is currently going, how business is currently going. This is something I'm trying to do with my content too, is I'm trying to be as authentic as possible. Because even when I look at my social media content right now, I'm like, this doesn't give off an accurate representation of who Luke is. It's giving off like still a mirage where life is perfect, where it's not. Like, yes, I have money, but life still isn't perfect. And people say that of like, money won't fix all the problems, but getting down to the nitty gritty of like, what exactly does that mean inside of your mind, inside of your health, inside of your relationships?
Yeah. I would say that money definitely makes life easier, because
Yeah.
it removes a lot of stress. That it gives you freedom, it gives you options. But I resonate with what you're saying, because at the end of the day, when God's growing you and God says, okay, I don't need Daniel's permission to mature him. I don't need Luke's permission to mature you. Something's gonna happen. And whether it's you lose a client, or right, something breaks down in your home, or just you missed your flight, whatever. I mean, it's the money doesn't take the fact away that God's in control and you're a human being. And the only way as human beings we grow is through the experiences that we're put through. And sometimes God allows these experiences to come into our life because he's taking us this way or that way. So I definitely resonate with what you're saying. let me ask you this because you have a great following, and I'm thinking about this because I want people to understand that Luke is the exception to the rule because you're real. And I can say that because I've met you in person. I've conversed with you. I've had dinner with you. I felt your heart. You know, we hung out for 2 days, and you can't, right? Either that or you're a really good actor. And not that you're not a good actor, but I
I'm
can
not.
feel it.
Not.
I could feel it. But I share that because people have the wrong perception about, because you have a lot of followers. I'm not talking about you, but just social media in general, that you're successful. And I bring that up because we're talking about business. And I want people to understand that there was people that owed me money, right? They come to our events or whatever work we do, because we do a variety of book publishing, our boot camp, our sticker shock speaking academy. And they're like, they're posting all this stuff on social media, like you're saying, the persona, and you're like, dude, like I called you an hour ago, or I texted you, or I emailed you, and it's like you still have an outstanding balance. You owe me money, man. Like, why are you doing this? And you're not. Talk to us about that. I mean, because you, right? I haven't had the luxury like yourself to hang around with as many celebrities as you have, but do you see a lot of that, just people fall into that trap of, they think this is what it, right? This is the question. They think likes equate to revenue, and sometimes they do, but I would say more often it doesn't. Talk to me about that.
I think more often than not, people create content on social media, influencers, celebrity business people, for the purposes of what they think other people will like instead of doing it for themselves. And a lot of times that will lead to many different things. Like if you're creating content, like there's a comparison because you should be creating content for service for others, but it's creating content that you might not necessarily like because you think it gets more views and likes. And there is content out there, but it's like your social media presence and your personal brand sticks with you forever. Like your personal brand is the documentation of your entire life on a digital format. And so what do you want to be a part of that documentation, and how can you create content in a way that, and how can you create your social media presence in a way that you're doing it forever, not that you're doing it for a short period of time, and then that you're authentically showing who you are. Because if you are able to consistently create content for a long period of time and consistently reiterate, give yourself feedback and improve on it, you're going to win in the long run with social media. And so many people you see with creators where they get burnt out, where they stop creating content for so long, and it's because they were creating content that they thought others would like, that they didn't feel like were themselves. and
Uh,
and so there's a disconnect there.
you know what comes to mind, and
Mm.
like many Vanilli, they weren't being real to themselves, right? And when you know that you're singing and it's not you singing, it's like the lie's gonna catch up to you sooner or later. Same thing on what you're talking about social media. You're developing and building this persona that sooner or later is gonna catch up to you. Like, and like me, people say, dude, do you always talk about God? I'm like, yeah. Well, man, you're like, I'm not religious. I'm like, well, I'm not religious either, but I believe in Jesus. I go, you know what you can do? And they're like, what? You can unfollow me. That's just I mean, that's just what I do and who I am. And it is what it is. And people are used to seeing that in the marketplace. And like me and you, I think me and you said a prayer one day too, when we were together these last 3 days, last month. But that's just who Daniel is. And I'll never forget we had our sticker shock speaking academy, and one of the girls goes, like, this is you, huh? I'm like she caught me off guard. I'm like, what are you talking about, Amber? She's like this is really you. I'm like, what is me? She goes, like, you pray with people. She said, I go, yeah, why? She said, because I left her a voicemail one time on her phone, like, hey, just wanted to say a blessing for you. She's like, what does this weirdo want? Right. But God just put it on my heart to say a prayer for her. And I sent it through her through Messenger. And she just thought it was like that there was a motive behind it. Like, there's no motive. Like, if God says pray, I'm gonna pray. I mean, it's as simple as that. But it's just being, listen to what Luke's saying. Maybe you're struggling right now. You're not happy because you're being that chameleon. At work, you're one person. At home, you're another person. And then you go out with your friends or your homies or your girlfriends, and you're another person. So you have three lives that you're living in. Just be you. If people don't love you for who you are, ladies and gentlemen, then they don't need, you don't need them in your lives. And the truth is this, is that, and I want your wisdom in this, Luke, is, ladies and gentlemen, there's gonna come a point in your life, in your business, in your brand, that you're gonna outgrow people. And you're gonna lose some people, ladies and gentlemen. You're gonna lose a lot of people. But I can promise you, if you put God first, you're not gonna lose your people. You're not gonna lose the right people. Talk to us about that. Because I think so many people are scared to lose people, Luke. And they hold on to that bad friendship, and they've outgrown it, but they stall themselves out because they keep that relationship that they've outgrown.
This has probably been one of the hardest things for me throughout my life, for sure. And I think it's the hardest thing for people if they ever get to this point of outgrowing people. What happens is the majority of people in your life currently, if you're not in a place where you want to be, are likely not going to be around for the long run. And that's usually just how it is, where your group of friends, in my opinion, should be motivating you to get to the next level. You can't really change another person. You can't change the people in your friend group. The friend group can't change you, but they can motivate you for you to make the change within yourself. And so I've always been around people that are higher level than me, older than me, to give me that motivation. And then once I get to the next level, those people that aren't working on themselves in areas of life that I'm working on myself, they just won't stick around. Like, for example, I work out like 5 times per week. I would never hang out with somebody that doesn't work out. Like, it's just like such a strong type of a strong aspect of who I am, and like a part of personal development that I enjoy heavily. And I wouldn't be able to resonate with somebody if they didn't take their like body, like their health very seriously like that. And that's just like one component of things. I think what you have to do is you constantly have to reflect on your relationships that you have and see how you're contributing to those relationships and how they're contributing to your life.
Yeah. And you said that, and I think about when you said that, like, I've been working out since I was 18, maybe 17. Just been, right? Of course, you have seasons when you do more than less, but even I'm 50 years old, and I'm like, we had this thing. I was there with Andy Elliott, and I felt good, right? I felt good because we went to his conference, and we're there hanging out with them when Tim Grover was there, and we're like, all right, we're gonna go to this casino and we're gonna have a workout. And I'm thinking like, okay, maybe 50 people will go. Dude, there was 400 people there.
No way.
And then I'm like, okay, like, oh, so there's no happy hour at this event. So we're there, and they have this obstacle course, right? You have 10 stations. So just imagine a football field. You got the 10-yard line, 50-yard line, every yard line. We will just say we have a rowing machine here. You do push-ups here. On the 30-yard line, you're doing burpees. On the 40-yard line, you're doing setups, and right. So every yard line, that's the picture I want to paint. So there's literally 100 people go at a time. Well, I'm like, man, like it looks, and some of these guys are pretty stout on Andy's sales team. And I'm like, I held my own. I was like 50 years old, and there's 400 people. I would say out of those 400 people, there's some people that got sick, put it that way, right? And we know what we're talking about. They got sick, they couldn't hack it. And I'm just like, man, you know what? For being 50, I feel pretty good because I was in the top 5%.
Nice.
Because that's who I am. And I bring that up because people do these 75 hard but they don't live it. And then once the program's over, they gain the weight back because it's not who they are. They're doing it because yes, and not to say that everybody that does 75 hard doesn't get the benefit of it, but many of those people that do that, it's not the lifestyle, and they have to understand that working out is a lifestyle, like you're saying, because it's who you are at the core. Because you value your body, you value your health.
Dude, this struck a conversation in my head that I'm like, we have to go into this, where being discerning over your friend group, I think, is a large portion of knowing yourself very well. Like you can't be discerning of the people around you unless you know yourself. And to know yourself, like you need to know like the aspects that make up who you are, like your values, your beliefs, your morals, all of the major things in your life. Business definitely helped me with that because in order to build a big team, I had to have set core values in our team that everybody, you know, was hired on, was fired on. And so it helped me with like having core values in myself. But this is where I've definitely gone more into religion and more into Christianity, because people who don't grow up with a religion in their lives are basically told to go into this world without a base level set of values, morals, beliefs. And so you're given this entire world where you can craft the values and beliefs that are just convenient to yourself. And so it's so easy to just get lost where you don't even know what you believe in. You don't even know what your values are. And so you get put into a friend group that's in the same way. And then you're never making a decision on the values that you have, the beliefs that you have, which make it so much easier. Where when you're decisive and when you're convicted, when you have conviction about what you believe in, it's so easy to say no to everything else.
Mm.
It's like when you're able to make a strong decision in your life, it brings so much peace of mind because you're decisive. And so it's everything that you're saying no to, you're very decisive about that and you're able to accept that. It's like the strongest weight on your shoulder. The thing that's bringing you down the most, the thing that's bringing the most anxiety is all of the decisions you have yet to make, the decisions, the unknowns that you have in life.
Let me ask you this. This is a good business question for the audience. Are you decisive? Do you make decisions based? Let me reframe it. Are you good at making decisions without your feelings affecting your decision?
I'm very good at making decisions without my feelings, but that's only because I've been very emotionally dissociated. So I've, for my entire life, I've had a very difficult time tapping into my emotions from things from my childhood, but that's actually helped me with business, but something that I need to work on for in terms of relationships.
Well, I think it's a good thing. I think the reason I asked that is because we were in a mastermind, and they're like, you know what, great. I never saw that. I never even really saw that about myself till they brought it up in the mastermind. You know what I admire about Daniel? I'm like, what? That he's decisive and he doesn't let his feelings get in the way. It's like he doesn't make decisions based on his feelings. It's like I never knew that about myself. But people see this and they're like, I'm like, and then after I really pondered on it, I'm like, I guess I do. I mean, it is what it, right?
It's a great quality.
If I don't feel like it, well, then I'm not gonna do it. But if I know I need to do it, like just you're either committed or you're not. And it's I think so many people allow their feelings. Well, it's right. It's not the right time, or I didn't have this on my agenda. And great. How do you feel about since we're talking about this, right? I'm loving our conversation. We're gonna go another two. I'm gonna have you back on, dude, because it's already been an hour, man. And it's like, what did we talk about? But it's like I'm telling you, brother. I really
I've
just
never talked about any of these things on a podcast ever, so I appreciate it, man. This has been great.
yeah. But it's just I forgot what I was gonna say. Well, you're welcome, man. I mean, I don't know. I just really felt like me and you connected at the heart level, even though you were leaning on me, because I'm the shorter guy of the two. But it's all good, right? It's all good. But I just we just there was something sincere about you, and we just kind of I felt we bonded, and I was saying, you know what, this guy is good people, man. And the reality, and you know this, and I know this because we both speak and travel. You meet a lot of bad people along the way, or self-centered people that really don't really care about people. So it's good to meet a Luke Lintz. Of course, in person, it's even more better than seeing him on IG, man. So, but let me ask you this: what's next for you, brother? What's 2024? We're about to finish the first quarter. What's the big goal the next 9 months of the year for you?
It's a big one. We actually just recently, over the past 2 months, we had to make some very tough decisions within our company where we fired about 5 people that weren't abiding by like our company core values, where our company core values are adaptability, competitive greatness, and conscientiousness. And those were some really tough decisions and definitely put like a larger load on my back personally, where I had to come more back into the business, and definitely has taken a lot of my managers and executives times. And so what I'm trying to do is this year is I want to look back on this year and think, wow, every single person within the company I absolutely like adore. I look up to them. I respect all of them. All of them are unbelievable at their jobs, because every single previous year I've looked back at who's working within our company, and there's always been a few people that I knew weren't aligning, and it was just about having those hard conversations where I think we've become better at doing all of those things that I think I'll be able to get to that point at the end of this year. And then there's something that our biggest investment right now is in this platform called decentralized social media. And so it's something that we believe in heavily, of social media going into a decentralized place.
Nice, man. What's a scripture or a quote that Luke Lentz relies on in the time of adversity? A quote or a scripture that you rely on, my brother?
During a time of adversity, dude, there's one piece of scripture in Corinthians that says, don't be a fool. Bad company corrupts good morals. And that one always struck deep to me. And it resonates heavily with this conversation where we're having about like being very critical of your friends, of your peer group, wise counsel, that if you're around bad company, even if you have good morals, even if you have a good upbringing, good childhood, if you're around bad company for an extended period of time, they'll corrupt every part of you.
Powerful, brother. This is a no-brainer, right? How does somebody get a hold of Luke Lentz if they want to connect with them? He only has millions of followers on Instagram, so
Yeah, if anyone wants to connect, over Instagram's the best. I try and look at all my DMs. It's at Luke Lintz on Instagram, LukeLintz. That's the best place.
yeah, man, brother, I had such an amazing time, and it just thank you for joining us here today in a special edition of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. I really enjoyed our time together, and man, God willing, maybe we can bring you back towards the end of the year and this year, and just kind of have another conversation, see how the year is ending up for you. Just you're special. God has His hand on you for sure, Luke. And just once again, thank you for joining us here today, my brother.
Thanks for having me here. Thanks for everybody for listening. Yeah, I really appreciate it. This was a super fun conversation.
Amen. Thank you, brother. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for this week's episode. And man, I tell you what, it's my heart is full. I'm gonna go back and just watch this and study this myself. Because sometimes we converse and we don't even realize what we're saying because we're just in the moment. And I wanted to enjoy the moment and be present. So take time to be present with your family, take time to be present with your kids, and take time to be present where your feet are. And if you're stuck in life or business, remember, go to Audible or go to Amazon and get a copy of our book, The Makings of a Millionaire Mind Bootcamp. We sold thousands of copies. We've helped thousands of people. We want you to be the next one in case you're stuck. And if you're in San Antonio area or you need help in your life, your business, you just have that scarcity mindset, or just 2024 hasn't started off the right way, I want to see you at our Makings of a Millionaire Mind Bootcamp here, May 24th, 25th. Send me a message here on our website at danielgomezspeaker.com. And we want to hear from you and see you at our bootcamp. So until next week with another amazing guest, like Luke Lintz. Thank you once again, brother. We'll see you next week on the Daniel Gomez Inspires Show. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.